This is Corolla DeVille, and you're watching Inkwife TV. Today, I tattooed a dagger and moth piece on a girl's sternum, and I'm showing this piece because working in the stomach area is pretty difficult. The reason being for this is that stomachs are generally soft. Even if you have low body fat, the stomach is still soft. There's, just organs and intestines around it. Behind it. Another thing is the skin is very, very stretchy. So when you have to stretch it out and keep it taut for your tattoo to penetrate the skin, and the combination of the skin being extra stretchy and it being soft behind it, it makes it very difficult for the needle to penetrate through the skin in a solid manner. It ends up looking kind of sketchy and light. Another problem is with the elasticity of the skin, depending on the direction you're running your lines, like I am, which are mostly vertical. The skin is stretching out long. I'm running these vertical lines. And when you relax the skin, it pulls together, and any slight imperfection in the line just looks way bigger because it has shrunk down a little bit. So I had a difficult time with a few parts of the tattoo. You can see, it's under my hand now, but the bottom of the tail, the lines were a little bit wobbly, and some difficulty with that bottom part of the sword as well. But I did fix it before the end of the tattoo, which, it's important to try to not make mistakes, but secondly, it's important to fix those when they do happen, because every tattoo is not going to be an ideal experience. And, I struggled with this one a little bit, but, when I begin to struggle, I just remind myself to stay calm and slow down a little bit and adjust my machine until it works the absolute best for the area that I am working on. Now, once we got up to more of the area of the moth, where there was a little bit of her ribs below the skin, it became much easier and faster. So that bottom portion of the tail on the moth and the dagger it was the most difficult part, just because the machine didn't, it's just a difficult place to work on. So anyway, that was a whole lot crammed into the beginning of this episode, but really there's just a whole lot of line work going on. It took me about 20 minutes of tattooing to finally get my machine, honed in right. For the first 10 or 15 minutes of any tattoo, I'm adjusting the machine slightly until it finds the perfect speed and the perfect depth to suit the area of the client that I am working on. Another thing that makes working on the sternum and stomach area difficult is that the person is breathing, or they need to breathe. I've got this sped up, but you can see, she's trying to hold her stomach still, but every time you put your needle into the skin, most people involuntarily just tense a little bit, and it adjusts the height of the skin and a little bit of the tautness of the skin too. And it also, when someone tenses their muscles, the skin drops just a little bit, so your needle is dropping with it, and you're trying to make something straight and even and perfectly level on a slightly moving and twitching surface. You learn to work with it, but it's definitely takes a little extra focus, and it can be very, very frustrating. So if you're an artist and you find yourself with a twitchy client. Try not to get angry and upset about it and irritated. Help them calm down. The calmer you can keep them, the better you're going to be. And you can't keep them calm if you're getting upset too. So just chill and try to work with your client and be as patient with them as you can. Okay, so the moon at the bottom is pretty cool. I wanted the moon, the little crescent moon, to be subtle because there were a lot of good, strong, hard lines in the front. And this tattoo is going to be decorated just a little bit. It'll be shaded, but it's not heavily shaded. So the moon, I wanted to just be a subtle accent in the back. So I did the whole thing with tiny stippling dots. And I really love that particular accent. And now we're going back to those lines that I said were wobbly on the bottom of the tattoo. The film doesn't show how wobbly they are, but when my face was down there a few inches away from it, I was like, oh crap, these look like shit. But magically, some strategically placed shading will make all of those imperfections go away. And there were a few on the tip of the blade too. That line wasn't directly down the center, but by adding that shading, the off-centeredness goes away. And then I just worked shading off of that wherever I felt it belonged. And that's the cool thing about it being my tattoo is I can add these little accents wherever I think they need to go, and then it's my piece. By this point, my client was feeling very sensitive, and because after you've done all the line work and then you're going back in with the shading, the body gets to a point where it says, I think I'm done with this. And so I did not want to put a lot of time into the shading on this, and I didn't feel that it needed a great deal of shading anyhow, because the line work was so cool looking just by itself. But I felt like it needed, to have a little bit, and I certainly wanted to put detail into that very cute little skull that was in the center of the piece. He just needed a little bit of shadow on him. I didn't want to do too much work, but obviously you can't do too much because he's tiny, and I didn't want to keep my client there any longer than necessary, because there's no point in making him suffer for any extra amount of time. But I still wanted to get those little shadows filled in down in the bottom. Kind of how it went is after I'd done the tails and the blade, I just added a few shadows where I felt like it looked balanced. I could have put more in there if I felt like it, but I was trying to keep it a little on the simple side. We can always go back and add more later if in 3 weeks or so she says, hey, I want to add some more. We could, but I also think it looks pretty cool like it is. And there's the last few details in the handle, and we cleaned it up. And here is the final piece. We will have more tattoos for you later this week. Thank you guys for watching.